All right, great. Thank you everyone for utilizing the chat. I see a lot of different organizations from so many different states. It's so great to see the diversity in organizations that we have on this webinar, which will be great to talk about today's topic, which is social media for Giving Tuesday. So my name is Lisa. I'm the Community Engagement Manager here at Mighty Cause, and I'm excited to go over some key facets in regards to social media for Giving Tuesday. So we'll go over overall content and planning, as well as in general social media algorithms, tips and best practices to utilize for Giving Tuesday when it comes to social media. And then at the end, we'll go through any questions and answers. There is a questions and answers tool on your Zoom panel. So please feel free to utilize that if you have any questions that come up, and we'll go through them at the end. So yes, please leave your questions there. So just a little bit of background about Mighty Cause for those of you who are new to Mighty Cause. We've been around since 2006. We are a year-round all-in-one platform for nonprofits for peer-to-peer fundraising, campaign capital fundraising, etc. We try to create a platform that is user-friendly and easy to use, so that if you are a one-man show or one-woman show, or you're a team of 50, it's easy to fundraise for your nonprofit. Overall, on the platform, we've built different tools that you have available through your organization dashboard that not only allow you to successfully fundraise, such as donation reporting, as well as the ability to edit your checkout flow, etc. But we've also created different tools that will make it easier for you to create peer-to-peer fundraising or to integrate with MailChimp, Salesforce, Zapier. So we have a lot to offer. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to contact us. We're more than happy to set you up with a demo if you want more information. But just a little context for those of you who are brand new to Mighty Cause. So Giving Tuesday on Mighty Cause, it is a 27-hour event. We start on midnight Eastern Standard Time and we end at Pacific Standard Time, so 3 a.m. Eastern Time. We have a free nonprofit toolkit with templates, checklists, a timeline on our site, givingtuesday.mightycause.com. If you haven't registered yet, please make sure to register. Early giving for our Giving Tuesday event starts November 15th, and the event will happen on November 29th. And we are going to be announcing prizes very soon. So you want to make sure you are registered so that you are in the know for all of that. All right, so let's get into the meat of this webinar, which is social media content and planning. So just some background in regards to Giving Tuesday. Giving Tuesday was a day that was built as a response to, a lot of the typical buying that happens during that time of the year, such as Black Friday and Cyber Monday. It's a day that's really focused on, instead of consumerism, it's a giving back. So it's a day that's built to inspire and bring together communities. And so that's why the name in itself is a hashtag. It's hashtag Giving Tuesday. Its goal is to really spread awareness of having a day that is really focused on giving back to all of your work and all of your causes. And so that's really one important thing to kind of keep in mind in regards to Giving Tuesday. It's really about bringing your community together, and it's a really unique day in which everyone is very cognizant about giving on that day and giving back to organizations. So when we think about content and like, what does that mean? What does social media content mean? Social media content can refer to a lot of different assets that you can utilize or create. It's really any sort of asset that is going to engage with your audience, with your donors, with your supporters on social media. So that may be a video, That could be an image, an infographic you create, a GIF. It could be a live stream that you do, a blog post, a meme that you post. Again, it's anything that really creates that engagement and awareness for your nonprofit on social media. So what does really the importance of social media content and overall content? Well, one, as users are scrolling through their social media platforms, um, content is really there to provide a form of entertainment and awareness to users on their platform. It's a way to grab people's attention as to the work that you're doing, the mission that you're doing, and also maybe a specific story that your organization has. It's also a great way to provide education in regards to your cause or the impact that you're doing, and a way that you can engage people without having an in-person activity. So it's a really amazing opportunity to reach out to people who you may not have physically even been in contact with or know. So when you think about your social media content for Giving Tuesday, you want to first step back and think about what are your overall goals for social media on Giving Tuesday. Every nonprofit is going to have their own goals. Some may be that they want to increase the amount of followers that they have on Instagram. Others may be, we want to start a TikTok account and we want to start posting on TikTok. While another nonprofit, it may be that they want to increase engagement on their Instagram or Facebook. So think about what are your overall goals for Giving Tuesday, because that will help decide the type of content that you want to produce. And as well, when you're thinking about what your overall goals are, you want to consider in the overall goal for your Giving Tuesday campaign, is that going to help with your campaign or with your overall organization's goals? And lastly, you want to think about what is the overall story that you are trying to tell this Giving Tuesday. So for a quick challenge, I'm just going to put a minute on the clock. I want you just in your head, you can even use the chat, etc., to answer each of these questions in one brief sentence. What does your nonprofit do? How does a donation affect your organization? And how can a donor support your organization? And you want to think about, when you think about the brief sentence, think about if you were going to describe this to a child, how would you describe your organization and what it does? So I'm just going to put quickly 1 minute on the clock for you to think about this. And if anyone's done early, if you want to post some of them in the chat, just as an example for others or to inspire other people who may be struggling, how do you answer these questions for your nonprofit? All right, that is 1 minute. I hope we've gotten some good sentences or descriptions. I see a lot posting in the chat. Awesome. Well, so that is a really helpful exercise, and it's going to be incredibly helpful when you are thinking about your social media content, because especially for social platforms, you have to be super concise and get your point across in minimal words or even no words. So some content to consider, and we are going to jump into more detail in a little bit. So one being a campaign video. So we talked about types of content. This is a way to visually and audibly share your story and the impact of your organization. Second being social media images and graphics. So a Giving Tuesday themed logo, banners, shareable images that you can share with your supporters. overall photos of your organization, the impact that you're doing, maybe a particular story about your nonprofit, as well as infographics of that include shareable facts about, how many, if you're, how many backpacks you provided students or how many animals that you rescued. Again, we'll go into kind of more detail about each social platform and the type of content to consider for those. So what I always advise nonprofits is stick to what you know, because you want to work smarter, not harder. So review and analyze the metrics across all of the social platforms that you utilize currently. What is the most effective currently for your nonprofit? What platform are your donors utilizing? If your donors aren't on TikTok, that's not essential for you to focus on. Really focus on those places where your donors are engaging with your organization, or that they tend to find you, that that they typically that they're following you, etc. So when you're looking at your metrics, look at your views, your likes, your comments, your shares, the engagement overall. And there's really no need to reinvent the wheel. Really stick with what you've seen the most success with. So when coming up with a social media plan, it's really helpful to have a team around you. So define your team and roles and who is doing what. For some of you, this is your core responsibility. You may not have another team member, but I would encourage you to reach out to your board members, if you do have any other staff members, to also utilize sites like volunteer sites where you can post a volunteer opportunity. This is a really great opportunity that a college student may be interested in developing a social media plan for your nonprofit. So what are everyone's roles and responsibilities? Is someone responsible for creating the content and then you are responsible for posting it? Is someone responsible for getting just pulling together the images of your nonprofit? So think about who do you have in your arsenal, and as well what they can do in helping you create your content. So utilize a spreadsheet if you do have a task management system like Asana to break those down, and as well assign deadlines, because Giving Tuesday is right around the corner. So you want to make sure that you have a breakdown of someone's getting you images that you need that by Friday so that you can schedule and post your stuff by November 2nd. It's helpful to have a general goal and as well as metrics to measure your success. So that's why it's really helpful to kind of look back in regards to your current metrics and see, okay, we have so and so many followers this year. We want to increase our followers by 50 or 5, so that you can measure how successful your social media content was on Giving Tuesday. And of course, we always recommend kind of scheduling ahead of time if you do utilize Hootsuite or even tools like TweetDeck, which we'll get into in a second, where you can or Buffer, which is free, where you can just schedule out your posts and you don't have to worry about doing it day of. And as well, as I mentioned before about utilizing what you have, your social media campaign doesn't have to necessarily be expensive or you put a lot of resources towards it. So as I mentioned, you want to look for volunteers or anyone in your staff who can support you. You don't need a fancy camera, which we'll also get into a little bit. There are a lot of free resources that you can use that makes social media content and social media marketing really much easier. So one of the common questions that we get is around the overall reach on social media platforms. Is it actually effective for nonprofits to post on certain social media platforms? So before we get into the overall algorithm on social media platforms, I just want to break down social media KPIs, which is key performance indicators. For those of you just who social media marketing is brand new to you, just so that you know the lingo and can understand when we speak about reach, engagement, and conversions. So when we talk about reach, this is how many people is viewing your content. So if you post a reel or an Instagram story, how many people are viewing your story or your reel? So this can also be measured by what's called impressions. Engagement refers to likes, comments, clicks, and shares that have happened on your post. So this is more than just someone looking at your post. They're also engaging with your post. They're engaging with your organization. And we'll also talk about the Facebook and Instagram algorithm and how engagement plays into that. And conversions is then the number of people who then take a desired action on a post. So not only are they liking, commenting, viewing your post, but how many are actually going to your page and making a donation? So those are all great performance indicators to think about when you're looking at social media, and as well after your Giving Tuesday campaign. So if you utilize social media, if you utilize Instagram or Facebook, you may have noticed that social media is not chronological, or social media content is not chronological. All social media platforms have an algorithm that decides which posts get seen by you, the user. So they curate the content based off the relevance to you personally, based off your friends, your family, your contacts, and as well as how they've engaged with content on their application. The overall goal for social media platforms is to keep you on their app. So they're trying to find the best content to engage with you as a user. So the algorithm takes into account both the content itself that you're posting, so the quality of it, but also the preferences and behavior of the person and their context as well. So what does the algorithm exactly look for? How does organic boosting occur on social media platforms? So one, they do look at engagement. So comments, likes, shares, that is definitely something that they utilize when thinking about what posts to show what people, as well as relationships. As I mentioned, they look at your contacts. What are they engaging with? Because they're assuming that if your contact, if your followers, if your friends are liking and engaging with this content, then you may like that as well. Facebook and Instagram prioritizes video content currently. They are trying to compete with TikTok. So they are really prioritizing short videos like Reels, same as YouTube. So that is something to consider when you thinking about your social content. And as well as interaction. As I mentioned, they do want users to stay on their platform. They don't want them to leave. So they are trying to find the best content that will keep users to stay. And for organic or unpaid reach, as we call it, these are things that it should best consider to get your posts or your organization boosted on those social platforms. But of course, a lot of these social platforms like Facebook and Instagram provide you the ability to pay for advertising. And one of the reasons why they ask you to pay for advertising is because their social media platforms are for free. And so if they just provided you the ability to organically reach all of your users, then they wouldn't have a model where they would be able to charge for advertising. And we'll talk about Facebook advertising and Instagram advertising. Can you outsmart or hack the algorithm overall? There's really no way around it other than really following some of the things that I mentioned in regards to what the algorithm looks for. You can do to the best of your ability, posting a video, having comments, likes, etc. But there's no way for you to make sure that all of your followers, all of the people that have liked your page or follow your page are seeing your content. So there's really no way to circumvent the algorithm other than just paying for advertising. So for over the past 5 years, these brands have made it harder for organizations or for brands to utilize organic reach on their social platforms. So in regards to Facebook and Instagram advertising, they do provide you the ability to pay to boost a particular post on their platform. So this is something that I would really recommend considering budgeting in for your advertising. It's definitely not required. You are not required to pay for advertising. We work with several nonprofits that don't pay for advertising. However, many do, and many brands typically do pay to boost their to boost their posts, to ensure that their audience is seeing what they're posting, since it is not a chronological order that they're seeing post on their platform. So if you are debating whether you want to pay or not pay for social media advertising, I would say it really does, a little goes a long way, which is really helpful in regards to spending money on boosting your post on Facebook or Instagram. So your budget can be anywhere from $5 to $10 to $100 for a post. But one thing to note, though, when you are thinking about boosting your post, is that just because you boost your post does not necessarily mean that at the end of the day, people will make donations for your organization. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to increase, clicks to your site. It's just another way to ensure that people are seeing your posts and eyeballs are seeing the content that you have put out. So it is important that as well, if you are boosting a post, that your content is also good enough for people to want to donate and click on and see more about your organization. So you may have 5,000 followers on Facebook, but not all 5,000, individuals will see your post, and that's what boosting individual Facebook ads or Instagram ads provide you to do. One thing to know, if you do plan on utilizing Facebook or Instagram ads, is that there is an ad review process. So it typically takes 24 hours. And during the ad review process, the Facebook and Instagram are looking at some components into your ad, such as the images you have, the text, the targeting, the positioning, what you're linking to, and as well as the just general content. One thing to note for some nonprofits is that they will restrict ads that fall into what they call social issues, elections, or politics. So if you're an organization that has a cause that can kind of go into social issues, you just want to be cognizant of the language that you're using on your content, on your social content, if you do want to pay for an ad on Facebook or Instagram. And as well, one other thing to note is that from Tuesday, November 1st to November 8th, Instagram and Facebook will not run ads for any social issues, elections, or politics, or posts that they've deemed are social issues, elections, or politics. So outside of paying for advertising, you work, as I've consistently mentioned during this webinar, work with what you have. So ask your volunteers and your staff to get involved in regards to sharing your post, liking your post. This is another ask that you can ask your support network, other than providing a donation or creating a fundraiser. This is a really easy thing that people can do to help support your organization. It's a really easy ask for your family or friends to simply like or comment or just follow your organization on social media. And if there are people that do comment on your posts, please make sure that you're also being responsive and starting conversation with those individuals, because this could not only increase engagement, but if it is a prospective individual, this could lead to a donation. So overall, you want to focus your energy on creating high quality content and finding a way to keep your supporters engaged with your organization. And we're going to talk about some of those ways right now with tips and overall best practices. So for social media, you want to make sure that you are utilizing the hashtag Giving Tuesday on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, and you always want to make sure you want to have a CTA. A CTA stands for a call to action. So what are you asking people to do in your post? So having a long paragraph with no clear call to action is not helpful for users who are scrolling or looking at your post. You want to make sure that it's very clear. Are you asking them to donate? Are you asking them to share? Are you asking them to go to your page? What is the action that you're calling them to do? And you want to make sure it's clear and concise. If you're working with another organization or company, please make sure to tag them, as well as on Instagram and Facebook. You do have the ability now to collaborate with other organizations or brands or accounts. So you can create a collaborative post where it can be the same post on 2 different pages. And as we mentioned, it's always helpful to schedule ahead of time, and you want to make sure that you're talking with your audience and not necessarily at them. When utilizing social media, I always recommend to utilize referral codes. So referral codes are a way for you to track the source site of donations through the platform. So you can simply copy this text here. You simply add $referral_code equals to the end of your Mighty Cause link. And then after the equal sign, you would enter what you want the descriptor to be. So for example, if you want to track how many donations we're getting from Facebook, then you would add that text to the end of your URL, and then you would add Facebook as the descriptor, and then you would share that on your Facebook page. When users or donors go to click that link, on your donations report, you'll have a breakdown of how many donations came in through that referral code. So it's an easy way for you to track of what is actually, again, that conversion, what's actually converting from likes, shares, etc., to actual donations. So you can make your source description whatever you want. If you want it to be a newsletter, you could say November newsletter or September newsletter. Totally up to you, but that is the text that you can utilize, and a column will be added in your donations report. As you're editing your organization page on the platform, you also want to make sure that you're adjusting your social share settings. So social share settings refer to your image card that comes up, and your your card text that comes up on Facebook or Instagram. I've provided an example here where it's the automatic image and text that comes up on Facebook and Twitter. So you can do that by going to settings on your org dashboard and general settings. Just always great to double check the language that you have there, and make any necessary edits that you want, so that if people do share your page on social media platforms, especially Facebook and Twitter, that is updated. Some useful social media tools that you want to think about utilizing is Canva. Canva is free for nonprofits to utilize. They provide nonprofits free accounts. They have so many different templates for nonprofits to utilize for any social media platform you can think of. Linktree is also a free platform that you can utilize, and it creates a directory of bookmarked links. So this is really utilized a lot on Instagram bios. You could even have it on Facebook if you wanted to, but it's a way to basically create a menu for all of the content that you have linked with your posts. Unsplash is a website that provides royalty-free stock photos if you don't have a subscription to Adobe or don't have any photos for your nonprofit. And CapCut is also a really great and easy video editor for Reel Stories and TikTok. iMovie and Movie Maker are also great tools, but CapCut is a relatively new one that a lot of people are utilizing for Reels and Stories and TikTok. So talking about kind of general Facebook best practices and the type of content to share on which platform. So for Facebook overall, it's really best to share content that is typically inspirational, uplifting. Facebook is a really great place to engage with users directly. So think about if there's a type of question that you can ask users, or you can even host a live stream on Facebook as well. Photos and videos always do receive higher engagement rates. So if you are planning on posting on Facebook, you want to make sure that you are always including a photo or video included on your post to help boost that engagement and boost that view. And of course, we talked about as well paying for Facebook advertising. So as I mentioned, a great Facebook engagement idea is a Facebook live stream. I've seen a lot of organizations utilize Facebook live streams as kind of a kickoff to Giving Tuesday or halfway through Giving Tuesday. If there's a specific goal that they're trying to reach, it's a great way to get people engaged with your organization and they don't have to leave their house. Facebook also has stories, same as Instagram. If you're posting on Instagram, you do have the ability to automatically post on Facebook. And again, they're really trying to push for videos on both of these platforms and stories. So if you're posting a story on Instagram, want to make sure that you just click that button on Instagram and also share that on Facebook. And there are so many different types of campaigns that we've seen in the past of different ways that people have engaged audiences on Facebook. We've seen fashion shows where people have created a peer-to-peer fundraising campaign around a crazy pants competition, and people shared photos and videos of their crazy pants that they wore for their event on Facebook. If there's a particular hashtag, or if there are volunteers or supporters that you have that you ask to share their story, those are all really great ways of, having people engage with your organization on Facebook. For Instagram, for Canva, in regards to Canva, there are a lot of great Instagram templates available in Canva that you can utilize. On Mightycause, we do have a social media toolkit that you can utilize. Just plug in your logo and share on Instagram. Carousel posts, so posts that are more than just one image, they're kind of, you have to scroll through it, is a really great way to provide educational content to users on Instagram about your organization. And of course, as we mentioned, Reels and Stories are things that Instagram is consistently pushing on their platform. For hashtags, users don't use hashtags as much anymore on Instagram. However, I think it's really helpful to utilize a hashtag like Giving Tuesday because it is such an internationally used hashtag, but otherwise you don't have to kind of over hashtag your post for engagement. Some Instagram tips. So if you haven't done so, you want to consider converting your Instagram account to a business account so that your Facebook page and your Instagram account can be synced up together. And it makes content planning and advertising a lot easier when it's synced together. Reels is Facebook's kind of video and response to TikTok, provides you the ability to add 1-minute videos, and we'll talk about videos in a second. But through Reels, you can actually directly edit videos in there. So even if you don't have iMovie, Movie Maker, or CapCut, if there are some videos that you have currently on your phone, you can quickly just upload it to Reels, and you can edit and splice it together and add music to it right on Instagram. So you don't need to do any crazy editing outside of the platform. Same thing with Instagram when it comes to live streaming. Instagram, because they push stories, Instagram lives are also as well pushed heavily. So this is a really great opportunity to kick off Giving Tuesday, maybe an end to Giving Tuesday, sharing your results, or it's an opportunity for you to share with individuals who your staff members are, volunteers. Maybe you want to host a live Q&A about your organization and what you do. For Twitter, I think one of the most important things to remember is that Twitter has very limited characters. There's only 280 characters. So it's supposed to be concise. So if you have something that's very wordy on Instagram or Facebook, you are going to have to drastically reduce it, especially if you're planning on utilizing a link in your tweet that you've sent out. So if you are sharing on Twitter, hashtags are probably the most effective on Twitter. So you definitely want to make sure that you utilize Giving Tuesday on Twitter, but as well, there is a free platform called TweetDeck that you can utilize, where you can schedule out all of your tweets. And for Twitter, because it is such a short amount of characters that you utilize, on our platform, we do provide you the ability to get a shorter link so that your link isn't taking up so many characters. On your organization page, there is a share button. If you click Twitter, it will create a shorter and condensed link that you can put in your post. So you can utilize those characters for other content that you want to write. Platforms like Buffer that are schedule out social media posts, they also provide you the ability to reduce that link so you can utilize it for more characters. As I mentioned, TweetDeck is a free platform you can use that will allow you to schedule ahead of time any tweets that you want to share for Giving Tuesday. So for LinkedIn, LinkedIn is a really great opportunity for your board of directors or staff to spread the word about your campaign, especially your board of directors, because it is a more corporate, or I should say professional environment. This is their opportunity to share with their colleagues as well as their connections on LinkedIn, the work that they're doing on your board, or as well as any of your staff of sharing it on LinkedIn. So this is an opportunity for your employees to get involved with your Giving Tuesday campaign and do something simple like resharing a LinkedIn post that you've shared. For TikTok, so as I mentioned previously, because this is a rather new environment for nonprofits, if this is not something that you think your audience is there for or is on the platform, then you don't want to invest too much time focusing on TikTok. But if this is something that you think your audience is interested in, you do want to kind of grow in that area, it can be a really powerful, useful tool for content creation and editing videos. You can do it directly on the app. So it's a really easy way to, again, don't have to necessarily use a third-party editor. You can directly edit it on the platform. And so TikTok is a really useful tool if you have the capacity to do so. But of course, you want to focus on where your audience is and the important content that you can create for those other platforms. In general, for TikTok Reels or video, you do want to make sure that you stay under 1 minute for Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter. That's the ideal length of a video, and we'll actually go through some examples of videos since social media platforms are pushing it so much. If you want to upload a longer video, you may want to consider uploading it onto YouTube, but you want to think about people's attention spans when they're on social platforms. People's attention spans are very brief. They are scrolling through these platforms. So something short and sweet is really the best way to grab someone's attention. And as I mentioned previously, if you don't have any past, if you don't have any experience with making videos or editing videos, right now, editing and putting together a video is super simple. Even if you don't have any video footage, you can put together photos, etc. But if it's not something that you're interested in doing, as I mentioned before, look at volunteers or someone on your staff who is interested in creating a video for your organization. And if you are thinking about videos, I know one common question I get from nonprofits all the time is, well, I don't have an expensive camera, or they go out and purchase an expensive camera to film footage. And that is definitely the wrong answer when it comes to creating video content. You do not need a fancy camera in order to not only take good photos, but to post videos. So one of the misconceptions about needing a fancy DSLR or fancy camera is that with those type of cameras, you need to know how to utilize it in order to get good video footage and good photos. So if you don't know how to utilize those devices, you're not going to get good video or good photos. So you don't have to be concerned if you don't have one. Use what you have. If you have a smartphone, that's great. If you have a new Android or iOS or iPhone, there are, for example, on iPhone, there's portrait mode, which makes your photos look so much more professional because it focuses your images much more. So use what you have and your team and network around you. So I'm going to just for a couple of minutes share some examples of videos from social platforms, just to give you some ideas about different social videos that you can create. We can talk about it afterwards. So this first video is from an organization, Comma DC, in the DC area. They are an organization that is focused on sharing the stories of immigrants in refugees that have migrated to the US, and sharing all of their skills as well. So what they did was they went and asked some of their past speakers, and as well as people who have held classes with their nonprofit to record a brief video about themselves and why Comma DC was really important for them. So I'm going to play this video. Please let me know if you can hear this. Oh, okay. I see no sound. Let me go ahead and fix that. Thank you. Apologize. All right. Should share that again. Thank you.
I choose to be a part of Comma DC to be part of a creative community,
helping migrants share stories, skills, and experiences.
And also I managed to give back to the community and share my knowledge about something that I'm passionate about.
I got to share my story as immigrants and was really proud of it.
I taught Thai cooking classes in person and virtual. Comma DC helped me build more friendships as well as confidence.
I hope together we can build a platform, support a community,
and give to Comma DC.
So I love that example because it's super short. As you see, all they did was reach out to their network of people. So they reached out to individuals that worked with their nonprofit as volunteer speakers and volunteer storytellers, and simply asked them to, on their phone, quickly record a quick video about Comma DC, what it means to them. And then they just spliced it together and put some music behind it. So as you see, don't need to have professional equipment. Can be super easy and simple, but gets the point across.
I choose to be a part of.
All right, let's go to the next example. So this is an example of American Red Cross. This is a TikTok that they posted, and we'll kind of talk about why I selected this as an example.
Here's 3 things to take a look at before donating to a charity. Check how your donation will be used. At the Red Cross, disaster relief donations can be used for things like shelter, meals, long-term recovery grants, and more. Then take a look at how much will be saved for operating costs. At the Red Cross, just 10 cents of every dollar is saved to keep the whole organization running. And finally, take a look at their Charity Navigator score.
So I selected that as an example because I think in about 30 seconds, they really got across some of the points that we talked about earlier when I asked everyone to do the challenge about what their nonprofit does and how does a donation affect their organization. So they were providing educational information in regards to donating, but they really clearly outlined in a very concise way what American Red Cross does, and as well the impact donation can make and how much of a donation and impact can make towards their organization. So again, just kind of to get your minds thinking about when creating social content of how to frame it for your organization and how to get that across in a super short and concise way. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, so this is organization Best Friends. Selected that example because, again, in 1 minute video, they shared what exactly their organization does, but they also shared it within a story perspective. So they shared the different animals that they are rescuing and what a donation, how can impact those animals. I always say animals, though, have kind of a leg up because how can you say no to a cute animal or cute pet? But they also shared a really clear call to action, which was how you can support, but also at the end it said mark your calendars. So super clear to everyone, this is what you need to do, this is our organization, and this is how you get the word across. All right, going to share. I believe this is the last one, and this is Muriel's Miracle Holiday Stockings.
Hey, my name's Ariel, and I know we don't know each other, but I need your help. So once upon a time, I had a sister named Muriel who was diagnosed with osteosarcoma or bone cancer. Unfortunately, Muriel found out that the cancer was terminal, but instead of moping around, she wanted to do one last good deed before she died. So during her last Christmas, Muriel asked friends and family to donate toys to her, and she stuffed some stockings and sent it to Johns Hopkins Children's Hospital. She wanted to do this because she knew all too well how much it sucked to be a kid in the hospital during the holidays, and she wanted to give these kids a reason to smile one last time. Sadly, we lost her that following February in 2014. In her memory, my family created a charity known as Muriel's Miracle Holiday Stockings. Every December, we get together with a bunch of volunteers and we donate all kinds of good things to local children's hospitals. But due to COVID, we haven't really had many volunteers in the last year or so. That's where you come in. So there's a couple ways you can help us whether you have money or not. If you'd like to donate stocking stuffers, you can check out our wish list on Amazon. It's under Muriel's Miracle. Or you could fill stockings and send it to your local children's hospital in Muriel's honor. You could also send a monetary donation. Or you could simply use your word of mouth and boost this video. Duet this, comment, like, anything helps. We donate to kids of all kinds, 0 to 18, boy, girl, neutral, you name it. Links to the Amazon wishlist and the official Facebook page can be found in my link tree. And if you're able to help us this season, I greatly appreciate it. And thank you for helping me keep my sister's spirit alive.
Okay, I chose that as an example because I mean, it's a little bit longer. It's 1 minute and 30 seconds. So as you guys can, I don't know if anyone can tell, 1 minute and 30 seconds, that was a little bit longer than the others, but you can tell the difference even if it's just 30 seconds. And they do have a very powerful story. But I think that what was so great about that video was in 1 minute 30, you understand perfectly what their organization does and what is their call to action. Their call to action, they provided 3 different ways you can support their organization, donating or not donating. It's super clear and concise. So again, when you're thinking about the social media content you want to create, that's the frame of mind, again, that you want to think about are what are the 3 points they want to get across to donors and to supporters on the platform. All right, so that was the last video.
Hey.
The next webinar we'll be having is Last Minute Tips on Wednesday, November 2nd. So if you haven't registered for this, you can register on the Giving Tuesday training webinars section of the site. We'll also be sending out an email about this. Here are a link to resources we have available. We have a list of tips, a guide. We also have a toolkit that we released today of media templates that you can utilize, as well as email templates, a social media tips guide, and as well as Giving Tuesday logos that you can quickly download and use. But we're going to use the rest of this time for any questions that anyone has. I'm going to just jump into the Q&A. And yes, this webinar we'll send out a copy in the slide deck to everyone who's registered, but this will also be added to the training webinar section of the Giving Tuesday site. Okay. So, I see a couple questions in the Q&A. What are some sites where we can post volunteer opportunities? That is a really great question. So, a really great site that is great is Volunteer Match. So actually, that is how I found a nonprofit that I volunteer for. I was personally looking for a volunteer to volunteer for a nonprofit in my area, and I just went on Volunteer Match and looked for an organization in my area that was needing volunteers for their organization. And if you go on Volunteer Match, you'll see that there's so many different positions available, everything from physical, for example, like Habitat for Humanity, to, a nonprofit looking for someone just to come in 1 or 2 days for admin help, or like I mentioned, a young person or a college student who wants to help with their social media. So definitely recommend posting, because you never know how many me's are out there who are scrolling and just, want to provide or want to volunteer for their nonprofit. If you are looking for help for social media, definitely consider also reaching out to your local community college or university. There's probably a marketing class or social media marketing class, and there might be someone interested in helping there, as well as the local high school. There's definitely probably some people that are interested in going down that career path and need some experience. So definitely reach out to your local schools. What is your advice regarding solicitation regulations? Since social media is accessible by anyone, anywhere, how do you recommend an organization stays compliant? I would need a little bit more details about what exactly you're considering that you're thinking would be, against the, wouldn't be allowed. But a call to donation is definitely, I think, as long as you keep it simple, I can't see, you going against any solicitation regulations, but maybe more information of having an idea of what you were looking to do I could provide more information, but call to actions like, please make a donation, head to our page here, like or go to our site. Those are all things that I think should be fine. What are some effective ways to share stories when your org has to maintain client confidentiality? I think that's a really great question. And I think if you are looking to share a story of your nonprofit and you don't have, direct people like you saw, in the animal videos, you don't have an animal or someone, or in the comma video, you don't have someone who can directly speak. You may have to be that voice, just like in Muriel's holiday stocking video. Or if you also have volunteers that work with maybe your clients, they could also be, people that could share your story. But just because it's not coming from that person directly doesn't mean that it's not a powerful story to share in regards to, the impact and mission that you guys are doing. So I think, as you saw the videos here, I think, if you are representing someone, I think, as you saw in those videos, being short, concise, to the point of what you do and why you do it is the most important. And I can share, I will, for all of the videos seen here on the training webinar page, when this is posted, I will share a link to those social media videos so you can directly go to those. So just going through the chat just in case. Yeah, I see some, Janelle said, great question, we are a health center. Yeah, I mean, there's so many organizations. Directly work with an organization that worked with women of domestic abuse and who could also not share information about, the people that they were directly supporting. However, that doesn't mean that the work that they weren't doing wasn't, hearing the stories and the power that the nonprofit was doing. It wasn't any less powerful of hearing that work. And some just ideas right now, just thinking off the top of my head, if you have a client that's maybe willing to be anonymous and have a blog article or share simple quotes that you can use, again, anonymously, you could have, a simple one sentence quote from a client if you can't share the confidentiality, and include that on an Instagram post. And you don't have to cite who it is, but you could say that, this is someone who has benefited or, you've provided support from your organization. So there's definitely a lot of ways that you can share the story without directly showing who it's directly benefiting if you cannot disclose that. Yes, and someone's saying we are dealing with that right now. We're going to have our providers share the story with some of the facts changed. Yeah, that's also a really great idea of not disclosing all of the information that you have. Okay, someone in the chat said, let's say I do a live stream on Instagram. Does it get posted on Facebook as well after? I believe you can keep your Instagram live stream. I don't think that they will play together, but you can definitely save your Instagram live stream and upload it to Facebook if you would like to also post it there. Is there any other questions or ones that I may have missed? Okay, I don't see any other questions, so I will end it here. This webinar is recorded. We're going to be posting this webinar to the training webinars section of the Giving Tuesday site so that you'll have it, as well as everyone who's registered for this training, you'll receive an email with a link to the slide deck as well as this video. Please make sure to check out our social media toolkit, and we'll also post the videos in the training webinar as well. I hope this was helpful for everyone. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to our support team. We're